Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Machado. I'm a realtor with Corcoran Global Living, and I am a proud sponsor of Donuts for Breakfast, and we are the remedy. I believe that Desire to Inspire Studios is a great and safe place for kids to learn. The opportunity to be able to come out and experience what it's like to be on a set, experience what it's like to work with other people, experience what it's like to have to create and build relationships with people that you're going to work with is so important. We need to respect our youth, and we need to teach them, we need to help them grow. And I think this is a great opportunity for us and myself as a sponsor to help those kids grow. If you like this programming and like helping our youth, please consider sponsoring the show. Thank you.
I am Ra, the Operations Director of Desire to Inspire Studios Foundation. I have next to me the amazing Dr. Michael Pritchard. And today's topic is women in leadership, and joining us as our guests are Miss Ivana, and I don't want to mispronounce your name. Please say it for me.
Ivana Jagodic Meholick.
That one. She's delightful. She's the founder of Postpartum Support Services here in Marin County. And also as our guest is Miss Roxanne Albin of Applied Financials. There we go. I got it, guys. It's early. So,
so I love her.
As I said today, this month, we are talking about women in leadership, and we are blessed to have these two lovely ladies on our show.
We are.
Roxanne is on the board for Postpartum Support Services, and I thought that it would be a wonderful combination to have them talk about where they are in their own journeys as women in leadership and how they have managed to work together to create a stronger foundation as women in leadership, particularly for other women in our community. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicely done. That was awesome.
You'll notice Trevor's not here today.
Her kids are like, "Yep, Mom." Okay, and then we go.
We're missing a few things. We're missing donuts. We're missing Trevor, but that's okay.
Yes,
We will get this done.
We'll be fine. Ladies, first of all, we're very, very grateful for you coming in to speak to us and to help educate our community. We're all about finding solutioneers in the community to help us with things that people need help with in our community. And we always say that there is no I in team, but there is an I in friends, neighbors, and community. And we want your vision, your eyes with us and explaining to us how you got to do your work and what the journey was and why you volunteered to be on the board and help people. And just to have fun with this morning, we'll go along. But Ivana, let's start with you. How did you get into this work? And tell us a little bit about yourself and your family life in early childhood and whatever you'd like to share.
You said early childhood.
Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, you know.
Well, I would need like at least 3 hours.
There'll be an extended version.
But it started with me suffering from severe postpartum depression and anxiety.
I understand.
After the birth of my second daughter.
Right.
Well, later on, I realized I probably had it a little bit with my first one, but I just pushed through it.
Yeah.
But the second time around was a lot more harder.
Right.
It brought all kinds of feelings, emotions, struggles,
Right.
constant crying, just not being able to be myself.
Being like overwhelmed.
Oh my goodness. I thought, I didn't know, like, I'm like thinking how moms with 5 children do this, how
Right.
moms with 3 children do this,
Right.
how single moms do this. I just
Oh.
felt like something's wrong with me.
Right.
I can't keep up with my household. I can't keep up with my kids. I can't enjoy my kids. I can't stand my husband. It was like a complete mess.
Wow.
And one night, I think I had my breaking point,
Right.
when I was crying and I was out of my mind, literally.
Yes.
And my husband called his mom. It was literally midnight.
Right.
She woke up and she came over. She talked to me. She listened to me. We cried.
Right.
And she said, Ivana, I think you might be going through postpartum depression.
Right.
Because I understand you. I think a lot of things you said were right, but a lot of things you said make no sense to me.
Right.
And first thing in the morning, I called and they said, well, the next appointment is in 5 weeks. I'm like,
Oh.
are you?
Hold on.
Kidding.
I'm just going to pause right there.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the emergency situation of having mothers who experience postpartum depression,
Right.
who have multiple children in their care,
Right.
and how different mental health is viewed in the medical world. Now, in general, you can get told at any moment that something that some kind of medical intervention that you need to function as a normal human being might be postponed. We don't have doctors on that day. We don't have an ICU or an operating room.
Right.
But the opportunity to meet with a mental health care professional to discuss something that could be so debilitating as to lead to suicidal ideations, and to be told that there's nobody to talk to
For 5 weeks.
for 5 weeks
Ooh.
is asinine. I don't know what else to say. That is I didn't know that. I didn't know specifically that it was 5
Painfully
weeks.
overwhelming to the individual.
I mean, if you weren't already like spiraling,
Right.
that information probably sped up the process.
Correct.
That's when made me start thinking. And I'm like, I need to figure things out on my own.
Okay.
I was like, I can't do this. I need help right now.
Right.
And they mentioned support group.
Okay.
And the support group was in Petaluma, and I live in Marin and San Anselmo. And I would have to drive. But I had intrusive thoughts of my kid dying in my car seat. And I was afraid of driving with her.
Right.
At the same time, I was afraid of leaving her with anybody else because I was so
That
attached to
postpartum
her.
anxiety gets us.
It
Yeah.
was
Overwrought.
it was really, I was really in a bad place.
Right.
And I just knew I went once to the support group, and that was a huge help for me.
Awesome.
And that's what I learned.
Help in what way, Ivana?
That's what I learned. And this is, I always say, I don't like to say this, but it's true. Learning that there are other people going through similar things that you're going through. It just feels, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. People are going through this, and they're getting better, and I'll get better. And I know that everybody says it's common. It's common. I know it's common, but when you're going through that,
I feel completely isolated.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to redirect just a tiny bit, because your story is a very poignant one, and it rung a bell when you said I had to make a decision. I had to do something for myself. And for the sake of our half hour, I'm gonna cliff notes and say that out of your journey to find the help that you needed, you realized that you wanted to be a beacon for others to come to.
Correct.
To find help as
Excellent
well.
work.
Yes.
When I realized that what's happening in the community, when I was starting to looking for help, for support. When they said 5 weeks, I'm like, okay, let's try something else. Let's knock on some other doors. And then you get, okay, you need, you can have an appointment with a psychiatrist or a therapist, but you have to pay it out of pocket for like a couple $100.
$100.
I was on maternity leave. I was getting disability.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way, I'm dealing with mother's guilt. How am I gonna give $200-$300
A
session? A
A
session.
session.
But whoever can afford that, please do that.
Right.
Because if I knew back then, I would like, okay, put it on a credit card. I don't care, I'll do it.
Right.
Because I needed help.
Right.
However, I found my help when I started thinking about other women. And I know how many women are here, like myself, without family, and relatives around.
Yeah.
And people are just, they have their own. And in general, life here is a little bit isolated. Like we have our neighbors, but we don't really say hi, hello all the time. We don't knock on their door. Sometimes we don't even know their names.
Is that different than from where you grew up and
Oh,
how you grew up?
absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. It's a
Stronger
huge-
community, strong community in
Okay.
here.
We would know
Balkans.
the whole towns, like everybody would know.
Yeah.
Which is surprising
And your
because
cousins
Marin is
and your
a
cousins'
very
cousins.
small
Yeah.
town. Like Marin feels big, but it's really not. So you would think that there would be more community connectivity than
And
what
that's
we
even
currently
before
have.
COVID.
And that was even before COVID.
Right,
Right,
COVID's crazy now. We are all
And
Thanks,
islands
Roxanne.
unto
That was good.
ourselves at this
That was-
point.
yeah.
so I kept thinking about other moms, and I said, well, I just felt instant like they're suffering too, and maybe worse than me, and nobody is there for them. And what do we do? And I'm like crying. I remember reading about depression and then reading about anything I could find. I could Google. And I found some Facebook groups, and I see, oh my God, all the stories from moms from all over the world.
Right.
And I am suffocating, not just because of me, but because of those who can't find help. And I'm telling my husband, what can we do? Can we create something? Can we do something?
There it is.
And then he's like, well, what can we do? What do you want to do? And there was like all kinds of ideas going through my mind. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to help.
Okay.
I wanted to do something. So what I did, I talked to Andy. She's one of our board members. And I told her what I was going through. And she's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know. Because I didn't tell anybody. I was ashamed and embarrassed to talk about those things. And I told her.
What does that do? What, just to interrupt, Ivana, just quickly, what does that do to the person when you push, because you're suffering and you say nobody should have to suffer like me, but then you know that you have become the medicine for so many women. But why tell women why not to make that choice, to be ashamed?
Oh, there are so many reasons, but the main reason is there's nothing to be ashamed of, because that's unfortunately our reality. And the more we are closed, the more we don't speak about it, the more women will suffer. And when we let it out, it's easier on us, and we give hope and strength to someone else.
Brilliantly put.
Else.
Brilliantly put.
Key parts of being a leader in any situation is creating that hope.
Right.
And being able to be
Right.
a platform for the people who look up to you. I love that out of your suffering came a solution to not just your situation, but you provided an ongoing solution and a way to help women and a way to bring women together and really answer some critical needs, particularly in our community in a way that I'm sure was fulfilling for you and satisfying for you. And it's a message for your daughters. Two
Yes.
little ones.
Well put.
And I love that. We have a half an hour, and in case you didn't know, Ivana will be joining us for We Are the Remedy as well. So more on her story.
More.
But I want to make sure that we get Roxanne's story too, because I'm not as familiar with Roxanne's story. I got a little bit on that, but Roxanne, will you tell us a little bit about your story how you got to be where you are and why you are such an incredible woman today.
Oh boy. It goes back to growing up in a household of strong Russian women. We moved to Marin in 1974, and I was fortunate enough to live with my great-grandmother, grandmother, mother, sister, and I. Sometimes it
Wow.
wasn't as fortunate, but
Look at that.
it was incredible.
Built-in community.
That's some generational
Absolutely.
power right there.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I moved here. We moved here when I was 6,
Right.
and that's what I knew to be normal. So we did have that community,
Yeah.
and Ivana and I go to the same church, and our family has been at that church since 1974. But it's my grandmother was my grandmother went through some extremely hard times. They defected from Russia, watched her father get executed in front of her, and then my mother was born into an internment camp in
Oh my
Austria. So my family was very familiar with overcoming some extreme hardships.
Yes.
But my grandmother, she persevered like crazy, and she's the one who instilled in me she was the one who wanted me to get a really good position, something that you can count on, something like recession proof,
Right.
which ended up being with numbers. And I always loved numbers. My great grandmother would make us do multiplication every single day when we came home. No matter what we were doing, we'd have to sit there and write out by hand multiplication.
Oh man.
And she was adorable 8 by 10, 4 by 10 little roly-poly.
Yeah.
But she adored us, and
Right.
she had us do that. So
What did it do for you to have such a role model?
Both of them were incredible.
Right.
I was especially close with my grandmother. She ended up being an electrical engineer at Bechtel.
Wow.
And she was just a powerhouse. And she really believed in family and taking care of the family and being responsible for each other. And
you have become the powerhouse they intended you to become.
Each day, even though she's not with us anymore, I just try to.
You hear her, don't you, though?
Yes, definitely. And I try to continue to make her proud.
You do.
And I did not have a normal progression in this career. I was a high school dropout.
Hey, talk about that a little bit for us.
It just wasn't. It was
for you.
It wasn't for me. I had my own emotional challenges, or my great grandmother had died, and things unraveled for me. I ended up dropping out and started working full time at 14. And I thought my way to work through life was to work through hard knocks and have multiple jobs. And I did that. Did that through when my children were young. I have 3 children. And it was when in my 40s that I decided to give college a try, and I went to Dominican University and fell in love with it. And in high school, I thought I was the dummy. And I learned that I was not in college, and ended up getting my bachelor's and then my master's in business administration in global management.
What did it do for you to have Dominican?
Management.
What did it do? Because Dominican is a
They're
special.
amazing.
Yeah.
They are absolutely amazing. It gave me a lot of confidence, and I did a capstone on the business I have now. I did my thesis on.
Wow, on creating.
I never thought I'd be self-employed. Never, ever, ever thought I'd be self-employed.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I worked for a wonderful nonprofit for 11 years, domestic violence, and got to see that side of it, and worked my way up from bookkeeper.
And you've helped so many. You have helped so many other people.
I really try.
She has.
I know.
She is helping constantly.
Yeah,
Well,
said a
you
lot
know,
of words lately.
yeah.
You're good juju's at a lot of different places. Now, that's insights right there. I did not know. You said that you were on that grind for a long time, from 14 through having children. And this question is for both of you ladies. what does it feel like to move through your careers and build those careers and start to set those goals for yourself and achieve those goals in one sphere, and know that the home is also an influence into how those goals are set and how those goals are made? I know that it is a balancing act. As a mom myself, I know that it is a balancing act. Do you feel like as you moved in through your lives that balancing act got easier, that you became more adept at it? Do you feel like it's a constantly changing balancing act? Like how do those two things work in synchronicity in your lives? Because I think that in order to be a successful leader, you're constantly trying and attempting to maintain that kind of balance.
Well, for me, it has been changing. I mean, I came to this country when I was 20, and then I went back home. I actually was given an opportunity here to go to school. But I was like, I miss my family way too much. I can't be away from them. I had a little sister. So I went back home. And then I started working for the agency that sent me first time. And I was preparing young students to, go for a summer vacation to the United States. So that it was, the program was called Work and Travel Program. And I was like, okay, I feel like I miss New York. I would like to go back again, even if it's for summer.
Yes. Right.
And then my boss comes and she's like, how about you go to California this time? We have agency there, partner agency there. You can maybe just go there for summer and learn more about what we do. And I'm like, fine. So I came here, spent summer in 2009, and went back home. And then the agency here, they hired me as an intern. So I came back and then they hired me full time. And that's how I stayed here.
Okay.
And I worked for that agency. It's called Cultural Homes International, CHI. They're here local in Santa Fe. And unfortunately, because that's exchange programs, that got shut down with COVID.
With COVID.
But I started PPSC, Postpartum Support Center, before, while I was employed,
Right.
while I was suffering,
Right.
while I was having little kids.
Yes.
Right.
And so when we stopped, we got laid off, obviously from a CHI because there was no work anymore.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is a blessing. This is a blessing because I'll have more time and more energy to dedicate to the Postpartum Support Center.
Right.
And that's when everything started, growing.
Serendipity. Right.
But going through the war myself, being in a war, losing a lot of families, seeing people dying. As a little girl, I was only 6, moving from place to place. I've never felt anything like I felt in postpartum. It's when I was
a whole another space. It's a whole nother headspace. Like the words to describe it just are not there sometimes. It's an insane experience.
All three of you, this is a question. How do you find home inside you when you've suffered from this postpartum sadness that unanchors you in the world? And you have children.
For it.
Say it again?
I'm still looking for it.
Excellent.
I'm
Great
definitely
response.
still looking
Good.
for it.
Good. Excellent answer.
Being my job came about in a very unconventional way. It kind of just slipped into existence, and I, on an average day, I would not consider myself to be in a leadership position, but then I look at all of our interns and our apprentices, and
they need you.
I'm like, I kind of am. Okay.
You are.
Yeah. But part of what I think as a female, as a woman in a position where we are guiding others, where we are helping others, where we're in charge of others, being anchored so that we do it the right way,
Yes.
I think is really
Exactly.
important. And wherever that anchor is fine, whether that's in counseling or whether that's in your family or whether that's in your work family, but it's really important to have who you are rooted in something that isn't going to move.
Core soul.
Yeah. Like who you are should be unshakable, unflappable. And I think that both of you ladies in
Yes.
your stories make it very clear that who you are at the core of you is very deeply rooted in a place of kindness
Right.
and a place of perseverance.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference. I think that leaders, whether they're male or female, are very brittle if they are anchored in money or if they're anchored in power or success or not something that doesn't come from the outside. They have to be anchored. You have to be anchored because otherwise your lessons aren't fruitful. How you lead people is just as weak as the thing that you hold yourself up to.
Wow.
I think also in society, we try to look a certain way.
Yes.
And especially women are expected to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, so all our different life experiences make us who we are and bring us to where we are today.
Mhm.
So I look at all the experiences I have had and have overcome and the obstacles and perseverance are what got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
One thing I work on as a woman all the time and help and try to guide my staff. I have a team of 8. I want them to be authentic. I'm more interested in a person.
Why is it so important, Roxanne? Why?
Why do we have to pretend like we're somebody else? Why do we have to have one, the cookie cutter package of everything's fine. I have a smile on my face. I'm not upset. I'm not dealing with anything. I don't have any problems. It's such a farce.
Yeah.
But yet there's this push-pull even within me of being unapologetic about who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am who I am. You get what you get.
Right.
And
why is it so important as a woman in leadership to teach that to young women who suffer from the anxieties of modern culture now, even more so amplified from COVID-19? Why is if I was to put up a sticker about all 3 of you, it would say, I am driven, but I am the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 3 of you. And so I feel humbled to be with you. Why is it so important for young women to know what you've just said is important?
I think it's to stop trying to be somebody else. Be yourself. Take your own experiences and let them move you and direct your life how you want or how you are guided in life. And I've had I personally also have not dealt with postpartum as far as myself,
right?
But I had a coworker who suffered from it, and I saw it at work, and had to take action on it. And it was just I saw the struggle within her of trying to manage it and trying to make it look a certain way.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Please.
Yeah, that's really,
just trying to make it look like she was okay, and I could tell she was just crumbling,
struggling.
She was just falling apart,
drowning in water. Right?
Yeah, and she was in a pretty severe state, and needed intervention.
Yeah,
but the messages that were being told in her head was that she had a different solution, and that
wasn't it.
She needed an intervention.
How did you come to her in that place? Like she's obviously on your team, you're in position as an employer, and you're seeing her as a human being and not as a commodity. How did you, what choice did you make when you said, it's time for me to step in, it's time for me to say something, it's time for me to help?
I could not have had that conversation if I didn't have a rapport or a relationship with her before that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And with my staff, with anybody who knows me knows, I had personal conversations with them.
Yeah.
Yes. And because I had that rapport with her, she trusted me enough to tell me what was going on and what was going through her head.
Nice.
Yeah.
And was she able, did she get the help that she needed?
She did.
Did she come back to work stronger and better for it?
Yes.
See, Oh, I have
It means everything to let somebody in, doesn't it?
it.
Yes.
It changed,
It
man.
changes
People
everything.
work harder. People work better. People work happy when they have that personal connection, not just to their peers, but to their employers. It
Mhm.
makes such a huge difference to feel connected and know that the person who you work for is invested in
Mhm.
you, in
Mhm.
on a personal level.
In your heart, in your spirit, in your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think there's a stigma against people struggling with mental health. I have
Yeah.
a daughter who who is bipolar and has struggled with it, and struggled actually with postpartum after my granddaughter was born.
Mhm.
And there's such a stigma against mental health.
Mhm.
And again, people having to try to look a certain way when they're just struggling and scrapping by to make it, one foot in front of the other. And it's just, I think we have to stop that.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't we be authentic with who we are?
Right.
Do you think, just a question, do you think because it's a male in business and as well as even in nonprofits here,
Yeah.
many of the nonprofits are run by women
Mm-hmm.
here in Marin, for sure. So how do we shift over in alignment to teach the men in our culture here how important it is to be connected to compassion, kindness, respect, decency, allowing the gentleness to because there's a competition, you know this, finance, you know this. And there's a competition in recruitment for employees and as well for fundraising. And in the work that we do and trying to help the community and rise it all up, there's a competition and all that. How do we help men understand? That's a question I think we need. I feel humbled to be in this austere group. I do. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. It's just overwhelming to me personally because I'm like going, listen more, talk less. And my wife is probably laughing at all right now. But anyway, go ahead. So how do we help them?
You know what? The first thing I have to say is it's not just men.
Oh,
I used to work for a woman who they didn't believe in sick time.
What? Sorry.
oh.
There's some women.
Not believe.
Mhm.
What does that even mean?
Well,
So
are
what
they
are you
wanting?
supposed to do when you're sick?
Take time off unpaid, or if your child is sick. I was
Did
the
you
only
say
one.
Take time
Mhm.
off. So you just can't be sick
Right. It was very frowned upon
to be sick.
to be sick and to have children issues. And
I'm still stuck. Like the children is a whole nother thing because I really think that the entire system that we have established as far as the workforce goes is just not conducive to
No.
having. I mean, that's not being sick.
Mhm.
How-
What does that do? What does it?
You-
What if you can just take me back to that? What did it tell you about how that person who was over you
Good question.
thought about you?
It was demoralizing. It
Yeah,
made
good.
me feel very small, very controlled, very. It did not promote growth. It did not promote excitement for my job. It didn't promote healing or helping to get through whatever situation was
Total
there.
fear.
Constant fear.
Constant fear.
Mhm.
Constant fear. That constant fear is
Unhealthy.
debilitating.
Yes.
Constant fear is
Right.
debilitating.
Yeah.
We know that psychologically. We know that physiologically. Living in a state of constant fear creates a constant cycle of distress in your
Mhm.
body that looks like deteriorated cells, that looks like elevated cortisol levels, that looks like so many different
Like
things.
a depth charge inside the system that's going to explode.
At any time. At any time. Exposed wires on a bomb.
But you're not allowed to show that.
But you're not allowed to show that.
Don't show your authentic self.
Right.
Exposed wires on a bomb,
Yeah.
folks.
You're just circling. I can't even imagine. I thought it was bad working in the restaurant industry where like sick time.
I've
Like-
seen this I've seen this in for-profit. I've seen this in nonprofits.
Yeah.
I've seen this in women-led organizations. I've seen a lot in male-run organizations.
Sure.
Yeah. You know,
What is that called? What
stigma.
just help me. What is that called? I've spent my entire life working with little kids and worried about their wellness and growing them in a petri dish so they become the lotus coming up from the struggle like you have become. You decided to become the medicine for a better world. You decided that in your suffering, you grew wisdom. There's a line that goes by Aeschylus, with every drop of pain on the human heart, wisdom grows. And you all three have grown wise. And it's unfortunate to me to hear this suffering has to be the diminished capacity in your creativity and your leadership.
it's a shift.
How do we help?
We're shifting.
Good.
We're shifting.
I believe that.
I think that is what's amazing about having women like you too
Yes.
in
Yes.
positions of leadership
Yes.
is because you're setting a precedent.
Yes.
You're creating a standard. And the younger that we could bring, the younger people are who come into these organizations or businesses, the more they set their standards towards what we believe that it should be. You know, if you have a 16-year-old that's interning with you and their first experience in a job is complete authenticity, having an employer who believes in them as a human being, not as a commodity, then they will take that standard and set every other position that they have up against that standard.
Mhm.
They have more value in themselves. They see the work that's being done in postpartum. You have volunteers who come in as young as, I don't even know, like I'm sure you have little ones that are with their moms for volunteer day.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see that helping, and they learn that helping isn't lip service. You have to do, not just say. We create those presidences, and
Right.
that's where we shift. You guys, I really wish this wasn't a 45 minutes. It was supposed to be a half an hour. We've now reached over. We are out of time, ladies. I'm really looking forward to bringing this back up again, probably sometime.
Feel
next
blessed to be
year.
in your presence and just say, Dr. King said, hate, no, it was Elie Wiesel. Elie Wiesel said, hate is not the enemy of love. It is
That
yet
was
more.
That was King.
Well, he said it, but it was Elie Wiesel who said it first.
Ah.
And he said, and he was a Holocaust survivor. And he said, hate is not the enemy of love. It is yet more indifference.
Yeah.
And this coldness that you're feeling amplified by some women trying to be like some men who are trying to be cold to make whatever power or wealth they get. And it means nothing. It's all sound and fury signifying nothing. But I feel blessed to have been here. This conversation was elevating to my spirit and to my soul. So thank you very much. Thank you for your choices in life.
Yeah.
Thank you to your family. And call mom.
I'm going to call
Mom.
Mom back.
Keep going to church. Keep me in your prayer. Keep me in your prayers. And
Drag Mom to
thank you to
church.
be the wisest person I know. And she's so.
Oh, shush. Thank you so much for joining us for Donuts for Breakfast.
Donuts for breakfast.
Where action meets compassion. Oh, one more thing, Mr. Mark Machado. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
Mark.
sponsorship,
You're the
for
best.
your support of our internship program. Thank you for being people helping people. And if you like their program, please consider donating, becoming a sponsor. You can go to our website at www.d2is.org. You can hit that donate button. It is an incredibly important part of what we do, that we provide a platform for our community, that we talk about these topics, that we get our children involved, our young people involved. And that's why we are Where Action Meets Compassion. We'll see you next Thursday. Thank you so much.